The more you watch him, the more it becomes clear. Let's say you have a friend. Let's call them Mark. Mark's always chasing something, but never really catching anything. You know the type, full of ambition, but it's all surface level. Every few weeks, it's something new. A shiny idea he swears is going to take off. But with every failed attempt, you see him sink a little deeper. What he doesn't realize is that his constant search for shortcuts is stripping away the very foundation he needs to succeed. The truth is, this pattern is like trying to fill a bucket with holes. No matter how much water you pour in, it's never going to fill because the foundation isn't solid. Mark's running from one thing to the next, thinking the next big opportunity is going to fix everything. But he's ignoring the leaks. Until he seals those gaps, until he focuses on steady effort instead of quick fixes, nothing's going to change. Here's the problem. People like Mark, or maybe even like you've felt, don't see the truth about success. It isn't just about desire or chasing after money. It's about understanding what you bring to the table. Because the hard truth is, no one's going to hand you success on a silver platter. You got to give something of value to get anything in return. It's like this old Roman principle, quid pro quo, something for something. You can't just expect to take without offering something back. But so many of us get caught up in the idea that success should come fast, without thinking about what we're really giving in exchange for it. Let's get real. When you see someone grinding, building something out of nothing, they've figured this out. They know the value of putting something real on the table, whether it's their skills, their time, or their dedication. They've stopped chasing money just for the sake of it and started focusing on what they're offering to get there. And it's not just about throwing effort at the wall and hoping it sticks. It's about being deliberate, defining exactly what you're giving in return for that paycheck, that promotion, that dream life you keep picturing. Take another friend. Let's call him James. James spent months hopping from one gig to another, always chasing the next big thing, thinking he was going to make it overnight. And each time he thought he was so close, it just fell apart. That's because James wasn't offering anything of real value. He was too busy looking for shortcuts. That's the do-it-des principle. The idea that for you to get something, you've got to clearly articulate what you're giving in return. It's a two-way street. But instead of focusing on what he could contribute, James only thought about what he could take. This kind of mentality comes with consequences. When you're only focused on the money, the opportunities slip right through your fingers. You get blinded by your own desire for success, and you miss out on the chance to build something real. It's like being stuck in a never-ending loop of disappointment, getting hyped about a new opportunity, then crashing when it doesn't work out. And that roller coaster, it messes with your head. You start feeling like maybe you're not good enough, or maybe success just isn't for you. But that's not the case. The truth is, you're not aligning your actions with value exchange. You're chasing without giving back. There's an ancient Greek principle called antipepontos. It's all about reciprocity, about making sure the exchange is proportional. Think about it. If you're constantly expecting big payoffs without putting in the equivalent effort, of course you're going to come up short. It's like walking into a room and expecting everyone to hand you what you want, but you haven't brought anything to the table. That's not how it works. Whether it's in your friendships, your career, or your hustle, you've got to be clear about what you're giving in return for what you're asking for. That's the part most people miss. Now imagine the psychological toll it takes when you're constantly coming up short. You start questioning your worth, and that feeling of inadequacy starts creeping in. Mark keeps wondering why he's stuck in the same place while watching others soar past him. But the answer is simple. He's missing the law of value exchange. If he spent half the time focusing on what he can offer, whether it's skills, knowledge, or effort, he'd start seeing the returns he's after. But the longer he chases without giving back, the deeper he'll dig that hole of disappointment. And it's not just about the grind. Look at the ancient Persians with their idea of asha, universal order and truth. Success and fulfillment come when your actions are in line with something bigger, when you understand that there's a cosmic balance to how you give and receive. You can't fool the universe into thinking you deserve more than you're willing to give. You've got to declare your intentions honestly and work toward them with a clear understanding of what it'll take from you. Whether it's hours of dedication or sacrifices in your personal life, the cost is there. And if you're not ready to pay up, don't expect to cash in. This isn't some new age thought process either. The Babylonians knew this too. Back in the day, they had laws in place to make sure every exchange was fair and clearly documented. They knew that success didn't come from wishful thinking. It came from clear contracts, from knowing what you were giving and what you were getting. They didn't leave room for uncertainty because they understood the importance of accountability. Every deal, every contract was explicit, just like your goals need to be. You need to write it down, get specific, stop vague dreaming and start clear planning. What are you offering in exchange for what you want? Because, look, at the end of the day, if you're chasing after something, money, status, whatever, you better have something solid in your corner to trade for it. It's not enough to just want it. Everyone wants it. It's about what you're willing to put in. That's the forgotten law of value exchange. And once you get that down, once you start giving as much as you're trying to get, you'll start to see a shift. People will notice. Opportunities will come because you're finally aligned with a principle that's been around for centuries. Something for something. Nothing in this life is free, but the exchange can be more than fair if you're ready to give. You see, the real game changer is understanding that money is just a tool. It's not the goal itself. The goal is to create value that others need or want. That's what brings the rewards. When you look at people who are successful, really successful, they didn't get there by cutting corners or just wanting it more than anyone else. They figured out what they could offer that no one else could, or they put in the work to do something better than anyone else was willing to. They embraced the law of value exchange without even realizing it sometimes. They understood that you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate, what you've earned through offering something of real value. Take the principle of chromatistics, Aristotle's theory of wealth acquisition. He knew that there was a clear distinction between natural and unnatural acquisition. Natural acquisition was tied to providing real value, something that contributed to the community or the economy in a meaningful way. Unnatural acquisition, on the other hand, was all about hoarding wealth for wealth's sake. It's the difference between creating something of value that sustains and just accumulating resources without purpose. Aristotle knew that if you're only focused on the money without thinking about what you're creating, you're missing the point. And that's what so many people today don't understand. They're chasing money without understanding the full equation. Think about it in today's world. How many people do you see trying to make a quick buck on the latest fad, jumping from one trend to the next, without any real direction or understanding of what they're contributing? They're just trying to catch the wave without considering what they're bringing to the table. And sure, maybe they'll get lucky once or twice, but that kind of success is fleeting. Without a clear purpose, without understanding what you're giving in exchange for what you want, you'll burn out fast. That's the truth most people don't want to hear. And there's another layer to this. When you're constantly chasing after money or success without thinking about the value exchange, it affects your relationships too. You start to attract people who are just as aimless, just as disconnected from real purpose. People who are only in it for the quick gain, the instant gratification. And before you know it, you're surrounded by a social circle that's just as lost as you are. That's where the danger lies. It's not just about you anymore. It's about the environment you're creating around you. If you're not intentional about what you're offering, you'll find yourself in a cycle where no one is pushing each other forward. Instead, you're all just dragging each other down, stuck in the same mindset of wanting more without giving anything back. But when you shift that focus, when you start thinking about what you can give rather than what you can take, that's when things start to change. You start attracting people who are aligned with that mindset, people who are also thinking about value and contribution. And that's when you begin to see real growth, not just in your bank account, but in your relationships, your career, and your personal satisfaction. You stop chasing and start building. And there's a huge difference between the two. Chasing is exhausting, but building, that's empowering. The Persians had a concept called dina, which emphasized having a clear vision of one's goals and understanding the full cost of achieving those objectives. It's not enough to want something. You need to fully understand what it's going to take to get there. What are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to contribute? That's where most people fall short. They want the outcome, but they haven't thought through the process. They haven't considered the real price they'll have to pay in terms of time, effort, or resources. And so they end up frustrated when things don't go their way, not realizing that they haven't held up their end of the bargain. It's like when you see someone who's always talking about wanting to be successful, but spends all their free time binge-watching TV or partying every weekend. There's nothing wrong with having fun, but if your actions don't align with your goals, you're never going to get anywhere. Success requires discipline, sacrifice, and most importantly, value. If you're not offering anything of value, whether it's your time, your skills, or your effort, then you're just wishing for success, not working for it. So here's the bottom line. Stop chasing money without understanding what you're giving in return. It's not just about having a desire or a dream. It's about knowing what you bring to the table and making sure that it's something real, something valuable. Success isn't a one-way street. It's a constant exchange. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner you'll stop spinning your wheels and start making real progress.